Hey everybody, welcome to the garden. I hope you're having a great day. Shout out to the lemon and lime lovers and everybody in between. It's time for a crypto highlight video. And remember, if you would like to join any of the services I provide, make sure to check out those links in the description below, both the Patreon and Discord. And if you would like for your own asset to get a crypto or stock highlight video, make sure to be in the Discord and post it in the crypto stock highlight room, and I will do an exclusive video just for you. And you can only do this within the month of November. If you are a free member, this will become a premium member service after November. Okay. All right, everyone. So we're going to be looking at NEO. So NEO USD, this is actually one of the oldest cryptos, that at least that I can remember. So it's been around since 2017, 2016. And this is off the Binance USD chart. So looking at NEO, I mean, we pretty much have a really extreme move up towards the 200s. I actually remember back then, and then a massive drop to essentially where it's trading now. So we're nearing the all-time lows. So we can actually mark that here on the monthly time frame. So let's mark the all-time lows. We'll make this red so we know where we're at. So that's at about $3.95. So it's not that far away, but it's still a fairly significant drop from where we're at. So keep that in mind. And then I also see the uptrend line here off of NEO that was lost. So we'll actually pop that on the chart as well. So from the all-time low to pretty much the low of this bullish consolidation on the monthly before the rise, we have this trend line right here. So we'll mark that there. We'll make this red as well so we know it's off the monthly time frame. So like most coins on the macro, NEO lost its uptrend line, but is coming into its all-time low. Now, will it actually hit that? Well, it depends. Right now I have to say yes, it looks like it will, but even if it does, it doesn't mean it's all gloom and doom. Potentially could mean that we are going to hold that level around that zone and then burst up higher to then again challenge this uptrend line, but that will end up just leading towards a lower high from the macro highs we've had here, the all-time high and then the secondary high. That would just lead to another lower high, and that's a pretty common macro chart. For one of two asset classes: a dying asset or an asset going into a multi-year accumulation. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind. This looks like a lot of price action, but if this does survive, this will become extremely small in the charts. So as you go out into the future, let's say 5-10 years from now, if NEO's still around and it actually succeeds in whatever it's doing, the prices will be much higher. So this will actually look like really, really small price action to what it looks like now. You would have to come in and zoom like this to see this. Okay, so it's very common you see stuff like this, and because of that, let's actually put this descending trend line here as well. So this is not going to be relevant for some time. As you know, it's going out into 2025, 2026, all the way out into 2028. But I think it's important to have this on here. One, because fundamentally, NEO is a very interesting coin, as it is also one of the few cryptos that does have some history with the Chinese government. Whether they're still in their good graces or not, I don't know. But it was one of the favored ones, at least in the past, along with VeChain. So keeping this on your horizon might be wise, especially if you are more learned about this project than I am. So, if this is going to be something in the future, this descending trend line will eventually be broken. So it's good to keep on, even though it's not going to be relevant for a very, very long time. But what will be relevant for in some time will probably be this ascending trend line. Now, within a year or so, maybe 2 years, if Bitcoin and the overall crypto market can find another bull cycle, you might see this come up towards this ascending trend line. And whether it fails or not will remain to be seen. It's more likely to fail than not. You also have this massive fair value gap on the monthly that kind of gives you confidence and coincides with this ascending trend line right here. Okay, so overall you could be looking at 20 plus 30, about $30 per coin for NEO, but we're not talking anytime soon, and we may still be looking at more downside. So I'm not telling you to just hop in, it's the bottom. We don't know yet. Okay, right now the price action is leaning towards more downside to at least test the all-time lows, and then we have to wait and see how will price look on the shorter time frames, mainly the weekly and daily, as we're trading at that level. Are we going to show signs of breaking down further, making new all-time lows, or are we going to really show signs that, hey, we're potentially doing a double bottom on these time frames and potentially on the macro? So now let's go down to the weekly, see if we can see anything else. So weekly looks interesting. A lot of the momentum to the downside has slowed down. Yeah, not saying it's done, but it has slowed down. So we are showing signs that, though we are stair stepping lower, we are showing signs of potentially slowing down. Okay, and when I see something like this, I look for a move higher. All right, in the short term. So we're squeezing a bit, so sort of like this. Okay, we are squeezing just a bit. You could draw from this high wick as well if you want. We'll do that to be conservative, but I like grabbing as much price action as possible. And then we have this low wick to this consolidation here. Take a look how that looks. And now we're looking at something like this. Okay, so you are still showing signs of trending down towards the all-time low, but if this continues to squeeze tighter and tighter and tighter, you may get that move up to make another lower high and then eventually come back lower again. So just keep that in mind, guys. Though I am getting somewhat bullish on this in the shorter term, this is still a very bearish, dead chart. This does not mean that NIO is bottomed out forever and it's going to the moon. I don't know. But I can tell you that usually when you see price action like this, the probabilities are on the side of a short-term pop up to grab more liquidity to the upside and then to continue lower. Okay? All right, and where can we, we have another fair value gap here on the weekly. So this is the monthly fair value gap. Here's the weekly one right here. So that can be a level where we see it get tested. We also have one right here, so right above the potential descending structure here, whether it's a descending wedge or just a descending channel. It looks more like a descending wedge sort of structure on the weekly. We have one right here. So we have some immediate upside areas that we can look at, anywhere from $11 to $15 and potentially all the way back up to 20. So, percentage wise, there's some really intriguing stuff here, but just keep in mind that, we are looking, at least on the monthly, for potential more downside down towards 395, which is the all-time low. The weekly, though, looking at this candle, if it closes like this is actually a really good sign that you may see that move up to at least test the descending trend line here around this zone and grab the liquidity above this consolidation and above this swing high here on the weekly. So, you may have a pretty nice trade here over a couple weeks to a couple of months if you're okay with the risk reward, right? So let's say the weekly closes like this and you want to play the bullish close, a bullish engulfing close. Let's say it closes at the high it's made currently, and then you want to pick your stop loss under this low wick, so the low here, and then you want to target up here. Not a bad risk reward at all. You're risking 15 to 16% before any fees, and then you have a 3.55, so you're looking for $10 to $11. Not bad at all, okay? But just keep in mind, if you do lose this low, you're probably going to stream down towards the all-time low, and it's very rare for all-time lows to hold as support. So you can see it, you'll likely see it break under that level, and it could be significant, just depends on how much liquidity is sitting under this level, and then come up back higher and test it. But be careful to just let go of the trade if you were to, let's say, do exactly what I showed here. If you took a long down here, okay? So you're risking anywhere from 15 to 16%, and potentially you'll get 50% off of it. Okay, it's not a bad play at all. Not a bad play at all. Now let's go into the daily and see if there's anything else we can see. Any more information on the daily. So all right, so now the daily is giving us a lot more information. This looks more like a bearish structure on the daily, right? So this is why you gotta be careful. Even though the weekly doesn't look too bad, and we're almost done with the weekly, I believe we're going to be closing in just a couple of days on the weekly. This looks very close to potentially an ascending bear flag. Now we have to see how it ascends. It looks like it's ready to come up a little bit higher. If it comes up high enough, fast enough, it'll be more of a trending move to make a lower high. But on the weekly, that could start looking fairly bearish. All right. So taking a look at the lows here, and then you potentially have, an ascending structure like this, depending on how this breaks up higher, if it does. All right. You do have this high wick here, but you gotta be very careful with assets with low volumes. You're gonna get really, disgusting wicks like that. It happens. You have to kind of ignore them, or at least, give them an eye. But if you see a structure, don't let this one big wick, kind of get you out of it. Trust what your eyes are seeing. And if you see a big drop like this, and then you have an ascending grind structure like that, it tends to have a bearish bias. The probabilities are to move down, which would mean that if you do break down from here, watch for a break back down towards the low of this weekly structure potentially. And then if we do the measured move of this potential bear flag from the high of the flagpole to the low, where will it take us? So let's see. Let's actually do right here, just about, if I can get, there we go. All right, and now let's pull, let's say we break down from here. Look at that, what a coincidence. It brings you right down to the all-time low. So depending on where you break, you're coming right on down towards the zone of the all-time low. Even if it were to break down today, you're coming towards the all-time low. So you got to be, this is why you have to look at multiple time frames. The monthly is showing us downside, the weekly is showing us potentially some short-term upside, but the daily is also saying that upside has a bearish bias to it. So this is why you take your time, chart, and watch for this to play out. If this does break down, look to start targeting around these levels down here, about $4 to $3.95. If you like the asset, that's not a bad time to buy, but be prepared. It can go lower. Look at this as accumulation. If you like NIO, again, this is just my advice, what I would be personally doing. You make your own choices in that sense. You know your limits. You know the asset better than me. I don't really know NIO that well. And then also, if it does start to break up, then the weekly time frame is probably going to play out, a week or two of upside, and you can look for potentially at least these highs on the daily, or you can try and target the highs of the weekly structure. So I do have a bit of a bearish bias in the short term and the longer term, but in the midterm, I think you can see some upside, but it'll be very dependent on if the weekly structure here can hold as support. If it can't, then you're probably going to want to target the all-time lows to begin any major accumulation, or at least a nice short, small leverage or no leverage swing trade to the upside, something like that. Okay. And that's all I see from NIO. Very interesting chart, very, very interesting. There's plenty of room to the upside, but there is still some downside that looks like that's preparing to be touched. All right, everyone, that's it for this this crypto highlight. Again, if you like the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Give me a comment or two. Let me know what I can do better. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And if you want me to, like I mentioned, if you want me to look at an asset for you, be in the Discord and post it in the crypto stock highlight room. Especially during this month, I will make sure to do an exclusive video just for you. Remember, everyone, be patient, be vigilant, and be nimble. I love you all. Take care. Bye.